Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're joining us here today. And I'm so excited to introduce you to our special guest today, Banafsheh Sayyad. And she is a Persian master sacred dancer, choreographer, acupuncturist, transformational teacher, and founder of Dance Oneness. She's a profound spiritual teacher of embodiment, and she performs and teaches all over the world, initiating people into the wisdom of their own bodies. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome you here today, Banafsheh. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
So today we're going to be speaking about how to go into the beyond through our bodies. What is your experience with this?
What a wonderful question. So I feel like the body has been described, throughout time as in mystical teaching, especially the cage of the soul, that it is limited and something to transcend, something to go beyond in order to connect with the soul, in order to connect with the greater field of existence. But as I have experienced it, and as I have explored the body through dance, I realized more and more that actually the body and the soul are really one. And what the invitation is for us is to experience our body as a gateway to experiencing the greater field of energy. As science has now shown us, everything is really energy, 99.999% energy. And that very little tiny part that's not energy in itself is just oscillations where you're you're coming across a boundary of energy again. So everything is energy. And the more we start to experience our body as energy and less as matter, less as density, then we have access to what you're saying, the beyond, that I think is actually here. It's really, there is no here and beyond. It's really a shift in perspective, a shift in consciousness, where we get to include more than just our day-to-day experience of so-called reality that we've been defining as that very tiny, tiny percentage, which is energy itself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love listening to you and how yours are saying it. So, how would one go about, or how have you gone about embodying the great mystery? What are the steps that one can take, or what are the steps, or what is the process that you have been on in order to achieve this state, these realizations?
So dance is my way, yes. And the way that I approach dance is to, dance ourselves to a place, to a state where you feel like you're being danced, where you basically surrender. It's about surrendering the limited self, the limited mind, and how we've been defining ourselves, how we've been defining our reality, and being open to something unknown, being open to the mystery, as you said, being open to the mystery. And I think dance is one of the most accessible practices where you can actually feel that your soul is moving, right? You can absolutely surrender the boundaries of your physicality into the greater field much more readily, I think, than other practices, because you're in the flow. And if you really tune into it, the soul is in the flow, is in flow. And it's very interesting that in Persian, one of the words that we have for the soul is Ravan. And Ravan means flowing. We usually say water is Ravan. So the same word is used for the soul. And in dance, you're flowing, right? You're not just kind of this, static, tense entity. You might start that way, but then you start flowing, right?
So there are many different kinds of dance. Like we can follow an instruction how to do how to move, how to dance. We can dance as an expression of the inner movement. So how is your work of that dance of oneness? How is that in relation to form or instruction or flow?
Yeah, so it's somewhere in between guidance and improv, freestyle, where I share, some of what I feel are the secrets that dancers know. I like to let people in on these secrets, the secrets that people who've devoted their whole life to dance and dancing at their most um, optimum. So uh, I like to share those secrets. So you can say those are guided steps or, sequences where I'm saying, this is how you do it and this is how you hold the posture, etc. And then what I like to invite people to do is to make all of that their own and to do that through improv, through freestyle. So it's somewhere in between the two, between guided movement and freestyle.
And I love this element, what you're saying, of people making it their own. And that is so much of the somatic approach to surrender to one's own deep knowing and to trust that.
Absolutely. Because movement needs to come from inside out. And when that happens, it has the potential to bring us into wholeness,
Mm.
to bring us into joy, real joy, true joy. But when it's from the outside in, and that's when you're following a technique that you haven't made your own, then it's very different. Then it's like you're kind of like this automaton, repeating or following steps. Then you're not engaging your whole self, and definitely not engaging the inner person, which is what we really want to access. That becomes where how you can truly surrender, as you just said.
Yeah, it's speaking about what we sometimes are just trying to grasp. It's almost like water through our hands, but listening to you and tuning into it with you, I start to get a sense of the richness of your experience with this. So can you guide us a little more or speak a little more about moving into spirit through or with the body?
Yes. So, the more you journey into your physicality, the more you journey into embodying, which is, becoming present inside your body. The more you do that, the more your physicality sort of dissolves and merges with the greater, because everything is interconnected, right? We live in a holographic universe. Every little part contains the whole. And as we have, been through time immemorial, as we have been informed by mystical teachings, this truth that has been encapsulated in the Hermetic maxim, as above, so below, the more you tune into that, the more you go into your physicality, the more your physicality merges into the greater, and you start to experience the oneness, the interconnectedness of all that is in your very body. You begin to feel unlimited in what has previously been considered limited, the physical body. And literally, what science tells us, that everything is made out of the same material, everything is energy. You literally step into that. And one of the practices that helps us do that more and more readily is the whirling that we call sama. Sama, that's associated with the whirling dervishes. Sama means to listen. So the more you listen beyond the mundane listening in and listen and tune into spirit, the more you sort of unravel this limited self, your limited definition of yourself starts to unravel, and you come in touch with this inner core that is still, that is silent and
Mm.
empty in a profound way.
Mm. The deep emptiness that is the fullest place of all.
Yes, yes, that's what we want to touch in the dance. And
Yeah.
then you're danced. Then you feel like you're not directing the movement. It's
Mm.
happening to you.
Mm. And you were mentioning the Sufi whirling dancers, and I see that image for my inner eye, and it brings me such deep peace when I see that, when I sense that. And so, what do you, in your opinion, what is the role of movement in reaching that emptiness that is the fullness?
Mhm. Well, at the core of movement is stillness. And to reach that really is about getting out of the head, because it's our thoughts that are mostly creating this chaotic movement. And when we get out of our head, and that is so readily accessible through dance, and especially the whirling, the Sufi dance, when you get out of your head and come into this greater presence of being, then you connect with that stillness and that silence at the core, that which never moves, that which is never touched amidst all the movement. You get to taste that stillness. And what happens is that all the noise of your thinking, all the noise of the limited mind starts to kind of dissipate. And then there's just this emptiness that is fullness, that is, it's again really connecting with that 99.999% energy, because another way that you can describe that energy is emptiness, the void, this interconnected field that is also referred to as the quantum field, that to me is the field of love. It's like your movement brings you to that place where there is only stillness, only silence.
Mm. It's coming back to that deep place of resonance, of being in resonance with all of creation.
Yes, in that
Mm.
place where everything flowers from. And in order to really touch that place, you need to be empty, right? When you're full, there's no more to receive. There's no room to experience the unknown. But when we become empty, then we can become a channel for universal energy to move through us, and then that's a different kind of fullness, right? That's being
Mhm.
empty. Having become empty to become full.
When we are in that state of deep resonance with creation, being aware that we are connected to the quantum field, what is the potential for healing when we are living in that state of consciousness, in your experience?
The potential is unlimited, really, because then you're operating more as energy than matter. You're connecting with the force, the power that has created the universe, and you're co-creating. And it's like a feedback loop. What you experience, with your experience, you're illuminating what life is and what living is. So it's like a feedback loop of your experience and what you're transmitting and then receiving back. And when you experience yourself as more energy than matter, then you're tuning into unlimited power, unlimited potential to transform what is not in resonance, what is in need of healing. Healing is what? It's becoming whole, right? And the more you open yourself to how you're more energy than matter, then you're putting yourself in that position where you can transform and mold matter, right? You can actually create, work with the essence of recreating what needs to become more whole, let's say, right? Because physics tells us it's energy that creates matter, it's space that is creating matter. Actually, I love this idea that space-time spins itself into matter. That's how everything comes to exist. So if it truly is so, and this is what physics is saying from, proving it, etc., it then that means that when you experience yourself more as that which is shaping a reality, then you have the potential, then you have the power for amazing, amazing feats of creation, which includes healing.
Mm. Well said, well said. So it's a reminder of our connectedness to within ourselves and the greater whole, and the limitless capacity we have when we start to return to that reality, that as our foundation, as our baseline.
Yeah, to really experience ourselves as souls, right, in this physical experience. And if you're not comfortable with that word energy, use energy or use chi. I mean, look at how so many different traditions have been talking about the same thing with different through different words, through different symbols. In Chinese medicine, it is the optimal health of your body is about qi circulating in balance and in harmony throughout your whole body. So, what does that mean? That's energy. It means that your energy is distributing and flowing uninterruptedly like it needs to. When you experience your qi, when you tune into how actually it's your qi that is creating or generating your reality, not the other way around. It's not the physicality that is determining the energy, but the other way around. Then what you're doing is you're actually becoming your own acupuncturist. You're able to really tune into where the energy needs to flow more evenly, more openly and freely. Where is the chi blocked?
For sure. And that
Yeah.
is also what everybody in the summit are attuning to, that capacity to self-regulate. And I love the element that you are bringing up here, which is that we are limitless. We have an infinite capacity for love and for healing. But how do we make that transition in everyday life? Banafsheh, how do we make that choice when we may not feel so glorious and grand in our everyday life? Like, what are some of the tips that you can give to the listeners that are to encourage or remind ourselves of making those simple shifts into choosing a wider state of consciousness, maybe I can call it?
Well, I think what's important first is to realize that not everything, not we're not supposed to feel glorious all the time. That it's absolutely fine to go into contraction and then we have expansion. Just look at how our lungs function. If our lungs just said, "Oh, I only want to be in expansion. I don't want to contract," we would die. We won't be able to breathe. So this cyclical dance between yin and yang, about this dance of expansion and contraction is important. The key is not to feel that all is lost, or feel woe is me when you go into the more reflective states, into what could be experienced as contraction, but to still feel that you can be grounded and centered and move through it, dance through it, ideally. But important to even tune into how a contraction is as important as expansion, and it's just part of the flow of life, is practice. We need to practice daily. We need to have a practice that brings us in touch with our soul, with our essence, with our energy, a practice that allows us to go into that expanded state of no-thingness. You know, in the Sufi tradition, we call that la makan, the placeless place. That you know, akin to samadhi, that place where you let your self dissolve into the greater. You let your limited mind give you a break for a little bit of time. So whether that's seated meditation, whether it's movement meditation, it's absolutely necessary, because that's our bedrock. That's what will help us navigate through our day, remembering that we are unlimited, that we are in a universe that is benevolent. We need to remember that, because everything we experience in reality, most of what we experience in 3D reality, is the opposite of that. So practice, practice, practice.
Practice, and maybe also to return to that knowing that we are connected and our choice matters, our choice makes an impact. And I know that you have spoken about that in the past. Would you share a little bit about that? How can we choose how we show up with another or in the world?
Yeah, more and more in the times we live in, we're beckoned to show up as agents of transformation, actually, because there's so much in our world that is chaotic and inharmonious, and each and every one of us is called to step up and really be the agents of change toward that which we truly believe in, toward the world that we want to live in. And remembering that, as we're talking about how the universe is holographic and each part contains the whole, and how we're all interconnected in this great interconnected web of life, each single part of this web impacts the whole. So whatever thought we hold, whatever behavior we engage in, whatever we act upon, our actions, all of it matters. All of it makes a difference. And to remember, sometimes we get overwhelmed and we feel powerless when so much atrocity is happening in our world. We feel like, oh, I cannot possibly have an impact on that. But that's completely untrue. Everything is interconnected, and everything is exerting influence. Everything is impacting the greater. So every little action that we take impacts the whole. So if we are not at peace with something, we are beckoned to create peace. If we have discord with others, if we have discord within ourselves, as adults, we need to step up and resolve the discord. And as we were saying earlier, we're unlimited and we have unlimited power. We can absolutely resolve all the discord. Because, as Rumi says, for example, as long as there is an inner discord, an inner war, that's what we will see outside. How can we not? That life is the echo of this inner dialogue, inner conversation.
We're coming back to the mirroring of micro and macrocosmos.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So as we are building more peace in ourselves, more tolerance for the wholeness, and more being more in love with the wholeness, the more we may also see that in the outside world. And so may that be so.
May that be so. And that's the only way it can be so. How can we have, um, you know, everything that is inside, the microcosm reflects the macrocosm. There's like a reciprocal energy. And how can we expect the world to be at peace if there is no inner peace? If we can't even get along with a relative or with a neighbor?
Mm. And so, as a part of this session, could you share some kind of practice with us to explore perhaps what we have been speaking about here today?
Sure. Okay. Why don't you roll your shoulders as you flow with your breath and loosen up your neck and loosen up your spine and shake out your hands and arms and take some steps as you flow with your breath. And now bring everything to a stillness. Let your feet be as wide as your shoulders. I'm just going to invite you into a short journey into the infinity symbol, the profound figure eight. And let's start by taking our hips to the back and then front. So feel like you're drawing a figure eight with the base of your spine on the ground. Your knees are soft. And as you're drawing the eight, the infinity symbol, feel that you can keep your low back in neutral and fill up the volume of your hips. Maybe you can also touch your hips with your hands, hold your hands on your hips. Let yourself feel openness in the soles of your feet too. And sense inside your legs. And fill up the volume of your hips even more. Sense your buttocks. And now let this figure eight that you've now fully established in your hips, let it rise and feel the eight, the infinity symbol in your lower belly, in your waist. Grow it, let it rise. Feel it in your whole abdomen, front and back. Flowing with your breath. And now sense it in your heart center. Let it expand your chest. Feel the back of your heart. And now grow it into your shoulders. Keep flowing with your breath. And as you sense the figure eight, the infinity pattern symbol, all the way up from your hips to your shoulders, also sense your neck and come alive from the inside. Fill up the volume of your head, soften your face, relax your upper back and your middle back, your lower back. And now roll your shoulders back with the 8. So coordinating shoulder and hip from side to side. And now bring your arms up. It's the same rolling of your shoulders, but with your arms stretched out. And now let's really slow down the movement. Come alive in your arms with awareness all the way from tips of fingers to shoulders. Keep your hands soft. And close your eyes now that you know what this movement is. And see if you can, as you're moving slowly with the infinity pattern, you're moving in your whole body, softening the boundaries of your head and your neck. Soften the boundaries of your hands and your arms into the space around you. You can bring your arms down lower if you feel they're getting a little tired. But soften their boundaries into the space around you. And soften the boundaries of your chest. Into the space around you, and traveling down your body, soften the boundaries of your abdomen. And your hips, buttocks, into the space around you. And your legs soften. Soften the boundaries of your feet into the space around you. Dissolving your whole body into the space around you, into this greater sea of energy. And maybe your movement becomes even slower. Who is the one moving you? What is moving you? Feel like you're floating in this sea of energy. This ocean of love. And maybe your movement even changes. Just letting your body move how your body wants to. As you dissolve your sense of separateness into the greater ocean. And tune into where you can't dissolve and see if with your breath you can soften where there's resistance. And let's slow down our movement into a stillness. And now feel your feet returning to physicality. Feel your legs and your hips. Traveling up your torso, sense your lower belly, your abdomen, your heart center. Sense your shoulders, arms, and hands. Bringing your hands onto your heart and sense your neck. Sensing your face, your whole head. Here now, present in your body. Take a deep breath in and exhale, opening your eyes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that practice, Banafsheh. That was really yummy, delicious to be settling into the easefulness within through movement. So thank you for that.
You're so
And,
welcome.
and is there anything you want to add to when someone is doing that practice at home? It's one element of your modality or dance of
Yeah,
oneness? Mm-hmm.
yeah. We move in the infinity symbol quite often. And what I guided you into was just one of them, one way to create the infinity. There are others. Um, there are actually two more variations of the infinity symbol that we can create. And it's a profound shape. So it's a sacred shape. And when you bring that sacred shape to the foundation of your body, your hips, then it has a very powerful imprint on your body, on your being. And I've heard from students who say they do the infinity every day, and especially it has helped them loosen the armor that we tend to wear around our hips, which has congealed due to, shame, guilt around our sexuality and not being able to really fully embody our sexual energy. So this infinity movement loosens that armor And when you raise it into your heart center, it also helps loosen the armor that we wear around our heart to
Mm.
to defend ourselves. But even more than that, it just puts you in touch with the unlimitedness. It opens you to the unlimitedness, because this is the shape, this is a pattern of infinity, and the reciprocity between you and the world. And it also brings into balance the masculine and feminine energies as you're moving, from the right to the left. You're balancing the two sides of your body. You're bringing the masculine and feminine energies, the yang and the yin, into harmony.
Mm. Bringing it all
All of
back.
that, all of
Yeah,
that with this very simple
all of
movement.
that. Excellent. So, is there any last words that you want to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, just to remember the power that resides in you, to remember that you are truly unlimited, and the effect of this perspective on your life and in the lives of people around you and in our world is quite powerful. And to remember that there is an energy, there is a contribution, there is a frequency that you and only you can transmit and give to this interconnectedness of all that is. So don't take it lightly, but also don't be overwhelmed by it.
What great closing words. And when people want to study more with you, how can they find you?
They can go to danceofoneness.org. There's a list of the events coming up, the upcoming events and workshops, online, in person.
Perfect. So thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been a delight to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time with you.
So thank you again for this great session with Banafsheh Sayyad. And thank you everyone for listening.